Welcome back, everybody. This is Darson Grantham with the Real Estate Market Makers of Iowa podcast. On this podcast, as you probably know, we keep it pretty casual. We talk to realtors and lenders that are locally here in Des Moines Metro about how they work well with other agents, how they work well with other lenders, how do lenders work well with agents, and just where their business is at in their business cycle and what they're trying to grow, any mistakes they've made. Because to me, we can listen to as many national podcasts and YouTube videos as we want, and we can get some things from them. But to know what's happening locally with other agents and other lenders to help us grow our business, like, to me, that's where there's a gold mine in that. And in Des Moines, I've never lived in another market, but it feels like in Des Moines, there is a number of agents, enough agents that will give everything to share, kind of pull their curtain back and share everything that we as agents can learn from other agents locally and still not impact the person that's sharing's business. Like, I have a very abundance mentality. So today we have Sara Hopkins on, and I appreciate you coming on, Sara.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. And so we'll dig into her business, her background, how she's found success, how she's failed, and we'll just have a really, just open dialogue. So before we get into the real estate side, what did you do before real estate?
Well, long story, try to be shortened.
Yeah.
I graduated college and moved to England, where I lived for 4 years. In hindsight, now that I'm a mother of my own, I truly don't know how my mom let me leave. I had no job, no visa, no ability to work, but I had studied abroad in Australia the year before and had met who is now my husband, and he's from England. So I moved there knowing that I honestly don't know what I'll do, but I know I will figure it out.
Yeah.
And again, in hindsight, like, girl, at least have some money saved. But I was like, I'll wait tables. Somebody will hire me under the table. Yeah. To get a working visa in the UK, you have to be either extremely qualified, and at the time it was part of the EU. So not only did you have to be more qualified than UK workers, you had to be more qualified than EU workers as well. So, but again, it's all about, I put it out there to the universe, and I knew in my gut it was going to work. My husband's aunt's best friend owned the local newspaper. And so hopefully this never gets to the UK, but they paid me cash in hand. They just wrote a check, and it was a sales position. I was advertising sales. Yeah. And it just happened to be that the person whose route I took over was very young, loved to party. He'd pull over on the side of the road and take naps for the day. He was like, I'm just going to get the bare minimum that I have to do. And so I took over his route, and I am young, naive, and anything in England. And I was given like the worst neighborhood ever, but I didn't know it was the worst neighborhood ever. I was like, this is England. It's so amazing. And people really liked me because of my American accent, and I connected, and I sold the shit out of those ads. And it was really, really cool. So lived there, worked there for 4 years, eventually moved on to a regional magazine that I worked for after the newspaper once I was married and legally able to work. And then we decided that we wanted to eventually have a family, wanted to be back here. I'm born and raised here in Des Moines, grew up on the east side. And so we sold everything that we owned. We did like a 8-month backpacking trip around. We went back to Australia where we met, and we did all of Southeast Asia, came back to Des Moines. Again, literally no money. We had the whole backpacking budget put forth without thinking, oh wait, we're going to need money when we move back. Yeah. So we moved back in January.
Yeah, roughly what year is this?
January of 2000. No, sorry. I moved back November of 2009.
Okay.
That winter was the most amount of snow on record in the city of Des Moines.
I'm jealous.
The recession was still going. I came in with this big old ego thinking I'd worked for a magazine in England, and I'm going to get hired, and I'm going to do marketing and PR and la la la, and nobody would hire me. Mm-hmm. It was the most depressed I've ever been in my life.
Really?
Yes, it was like we were living in my parents' basement. Like, oh, what have we done? Take me back to England. Take me back to England. And so my mom is a realtor, and at the time my dad was a realtor with her as well. And they were fortunate enough that they didn't get completely impacted by the recession. She still had pretty good business. Yeah. So she's like, just come work with me for a while. And I was like, well, I will get my license, but I am not going to be a realtor. I will not do it. And I ended up loving it.
I want to hear that story. What What did you know about your mom's business that turned you off as real estate? Or realtor?
So she got into real estate when I was like in 8th grade, and I just didn't, I can't pinpoint exactly what it was. Back then, dot loop, things like that didn't exist. It did feel like she was on her phone. Constantly.
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
But that wasn't the main reason I didn't want to do it. I think I didn't want to do it because I just wanted to forge my own path. I didn't want anybody to think you're getting into real estate just because you have a mom in real estate.
Silver spoon type thing.
So stayed with her for a while. And a few years into it, I actually sold more than she did. And so that was kind of our point of, I worked for Jerry's Homes at the time. I had a development of theirs, and it was kind of like, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do here. The market's getting better. So I separated from my mom. I left that brokerage and went to a different brokerage.
Gotcha.
And then very organically, an assistant who is still with me now, she's been with me for 10 years. She's absolutely incredible. Could not do this business without her. But she was young, fresh out of college, 21 years old. Katie Farrell is her name.
Cool.
Walked into the office and I was like, yes, I'm drowning, please. And so that kind of snowballed. She ended up selling more and then couldn't also handle assistant work. So we decided, all right, let's move you to, we'll move you to sales, just completely on your own. And then we hired another assistant, and then that grew and grew. And then the team grew very organically. And now Katie's our director of sales, and we have a director of communications and 6, 7 agents.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Hiring the admin before hiring other agents. Is that how that went?
100%.
Okay. How did you know to do that?
Because I was drowning. I remember saying to my husband, well, first of all, when I started this business, I had no kids. And 5 years into it, I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I really almost had a nervous breakdown because on one hand, you're so fortunate that you have so much business, and I was so happy. And I spent literally every single second I had working. Put the kids to bed, get your laptop out, work on marketing, do all these plans, da-da-da-da-da. And it was just killing me.
How many transactions that year do you think you did? A rough, just range?
Probably was getting up to 30, 40.
Yeah.
I think is when it was like, I cannot do this anymore. Yep. I remember vividly saying to my husband, I just want to be just go lock me away somewhere for a weekend. Just take away everything. I don't want to see anybody. And so that was kind of my breaking point. It's like, okay, we got to either slow down business or figure out how you want to grow. So it was very intentional. I guess I say intentional, but it was out of necessity.
Yeah.
I never got into it thinking I'm going to have a team and I'm going to outsell my mom and sell 150 homes a year. That was never, ever, ever my intention. And
you mean you never wanted to sell a lot? Because it sounds like
I just never thought. Yeah. I never thought that was a reality.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to be a top producing agent, but I was thinking 15 million.
Yeah.
Which I think 10 million is kind of the breaking point of when you start to sell $10 million worth of volume, that you really need to either be okay there or hire an admin, step up, grow your sphere. And the thing is, when you're good at this job, business comes to you. Mm-hmm. You do a good job. You can do all the marketing in the world. You can have the best social media ever. But if you do not do a good job for your clients, they are not going to use you again.
Okay,
so
explain that.
Well, contact management is huge. That relationship management is huge. You've got to stay in touch. You need to be having 20 points of contact with every single client every year. Mm-hmm. So when you start off, you sell, 4, 5, 6 homes a year, then it goes up to 10, 15 home a year. Well, I also started on the east side where I was selling, $100,000 homes, which I loved. But those $100,000 homes could tell 5 of their family and friends about me versus maybe somebody who's selling $1 million home. You got a lot more exposure because you were just working. You're doing
30 instead of 10 in the vault. That.
Correct.
So
that's exactly what I was trying to articulate.
Yeah.
You have to sell a lot more to make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
So I was always very high volume. high transaction with lower volume.
Yeah.
But that is what, again, just organically grew. This is before, I remember vividly the first time Instagram even came about. I was like, that is so dumb. Why would anybody post a picture of their food? That is like, this makes no sense. This is never going to last.
Yep.
But you got to adapt or die. And so you embrace it. And I make social media a pretty big part. Sometimes I have to take a little break. That's been my past couple months. I needed to take a little break from social media, but I will get back out there and start posting again.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we'll get back to the marketing and the sales. Like when you're just like the premise of the podcast, working with another agent on another side of the transaction, what is the thing that they do when you're like, I know that this is going to be a pretty good transaction working with this agent beyond communication?
Mm-hmm.
What, like?
I think, first of all, having a past relationship with the agent.
Oh, I love that.
Right off the bat.
I mean, that.
I've been doing this 15 years.
Yeah.
So you tend to work with a lot of the same agents. Mm-hmm. And I know which ones I love working with and which ones I don't.
What makes them the ones you love?
The fact that they are not trying to be so fiercely protective of their client that they end up making the deal not good. So let me reword that, because that's what I don't like about an agent. What I do like about an agent is when we can come together and be on common ground. Yes, we're both representing our clients, but our goal really is to make this transaction happen and keep people as least stressed and as most happy as they can possibly be. So it's really working together when there is a problem. Let's join forces and figure out a solution.
Yeah. It's like, so Gary Keller always says, like, it's a win-win or it's no deal.
Yeah.
So that's like, all parties have to win.
Yes. And that's what you have to understand. Like, yes, our job is to protect, to work for and fiercely defend our clients. That's our job. But our job also is to make sure that everybody wins at the end of the day.
Yep.
We want to make a transaction happy. We want to have happy buyers and happy sellers.
Yes.
And, sometimes that's out of our control, and you can work with the best agent in the world, and that doesn't prevent
crazy clients. We all have crazy clients.
Right. But at least you can have that common bond with the agent that, you can
still fiduciarily act in the best interest of your clients, but understand, hey, how do we as agents find the puzzle piece that makes this click?
Took the words out of my mouth, but said much more beautifully than I would have said it.
Yes, totally. No, I totally hear you. And some agents are just better at that than others. I would also say some agents don't know that that's what they should be doing. Mm-hmm. Not like they just haven't even seen it, or it's not oblivious.
Well, and it's a learning lesson as well. Again, when you've been doing this for 15 years, I remember my first 5, maybe even 7 years of business, I absolutely put emotion into it.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest learning lesson. And it's the number one thing I tell my agents now. You have to take the emotion out of it. That is why we are hired, because the buyers and the sellers are emotional. When an agent does something, you can't let it ruffle your feathers.
So you take the agent, your emotion, and the other agent's emotion, but the clients can still have emotion.
Absolutely.
Because it is.
But as the agent, if another agent is screaming
comes in hot,
you cannot react. Yeah. You have to just take the emotion out of it, stick with the facts. That's that. And as long as you do that, you're going to finish that transaction and be perfectly happy with how it went. Because it's when you let your emotions fuel that then you start thinking, God, that was awful. It was da-da-da-da. No, you just accept it for what it is. That agent's pretty highly emotionally strung right now, but we're going to do what needs to be done. Here are the facts. I'm sorry that that's not what you like, but this is per the purchase agreement what we have to do.
Yeah, that's fun. I haven't heard that answer, or I haven't thought of it that hard, that the agents leaving their emotion. So Tony Sly in our office, he says it. He says, leave your emotions at the door or whatever. And his wife, if you know Angie, is the most emotional person you will ever meet in your life.
Well, funny thing is, I also am an extremely emotional person. And I think it's what makes you good as a realtor, because it is what connects you with your clients.
Yes.
You do genuinely care. I mean, those are real emotions. But when we are in a transaction, you have to take those emotions out of it and not react emotionally, but stick to the facts.
That's so good.
What is in writing? That's what I always come back to.
What is it? Yeah.
Don't care how you feel or that you're upset or that you didn't want that. What is in writing?
Yeah. Or it's not the right thing.
Yeah. Like, perfect example is when an agent doesn't realize that they've given possession at time of closing and their sellers are moving out. And it's like, your sellers have to be out at time of closing. That's how the purchase agreement reads. That's how our clients have done it. Now, had the beginning said, hey, it's really important to my sellers that they have a day to get out. Can we work through that? Absolutely. We could set that expectation up front. But once it's done, you go back to what's in writing. What's in the purchase agreement? What's in any addendums? That is the only thing. That is the Bible. That is what we have to go by.
So true. This is kind of off topic, but on that topic, do you have a lot of times where your clients don't do like possession at closing?
I try to always, if it's my seller and they're relying on those proceeds to buy their next home.
To do the next.
In our counter offer, we will ask for 24-hour delayed possession.
Oh, that's a good.
Not all buyers, and I tell sellers, not all buyers are going to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
But typically, it works best when they're first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
And they have the opportunity that they're not selling anything, and they've got their lease extended by another week to give them time to get out. I let them know that there's a document that we sign. It's legally binding. It states that the home's going to be in the same condition. The buyers have to still have homeowner insurance. Sellers have to maintain content insurance and the utilities until the day of possession. But especially in a multiple offer, that is what has absolutely helped tip an offer over the edge. And
your sellers are getting multiple offers, and your sellers
or when
have
I represent
the
a buyer in a multiple offer situation, if my buyer has flexibility, that's what I will offer.
Yeah.
If my buyer's okay with it, which leads me to my next.
Yeah, go.
On your little list of prepping, agents need to not speak for their clients.
Yes.
We are not making those decisions. We are passing the information on, and our clients are deciding what they're doing. Do not speak for them.
Yes.
Especially, it's a small town, and guess what?
Yeah.
We end up hearing when things are wildly different.
Yes. Yes. And you know how long it takes for a client to respond. So when you as an agent ask, hey, can we have XYZ? And the agent responds in 2 minutes.
Right.
Nope.
Well, did you ask? Can you please present? I wish that there was a way to be here's an addendum of questions.
Yeah.
Please have these signed and in writing by your seller. But again, you just got to work through it and take out the emotion. And, I pass on to my clients, hey, here's the deal. Unfortunately, this is what's happening. And per the purchase agreement, we really don't have the right to do that. So unless they're agreeable to it, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Same question for lenders. When you know whether it's typically buyer, like you have a buyer, how do you know this lender is going to be good to work with?
I honestly only work, okay, I'm going to answer that two ways. When I represent my buyers, most of the time I'm giving them lender recommendations.
Right. Yep.
And I work with the lenders that I know I like.
Yep. What do they do that you like?
They don't bug me.
I'm agreed. Yes.
They're professional.
Yeah.
And I know that they will communicate along the way if there is a hiccup, but also they won't bug me if there's a hiccup that they know they can solve.
They won't ask you to fix the hiccup.
Yes.
Yes.
They know they're going to get, sometimes something happens and I don't even know about it because they have just taken care of it, which is what our job is as an agent for our buyers and sellers, is to try to solve those things before they even know about it.
Right.
And so that's what I love in a lender. When you have a lender that doesn't do that, it causes unnecessary stress.
Yes.
So, and I have 2 or 3 lenders that I really work with, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I tell my buyers, hey, here's the deal. You should shop around. You should always shop for a lender. This is just in my experience. Truly, other than having a great realtor, obviously, having a good lender is number one key once you are under contract to making sure that the transaction goes smooth. Yeah. If you do not have a good lender that doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't do it very often or does things differently, that's the number one way to be upset during the transaction.
So true. Yeah. on the lender side, I mean, of those clients, I mean, what I see is probably 90% of the time my clients are using the lenders I recommend.
Absolutely.
Is that roughly where?
Absolutely. Unless they already come to me with a lender, which even then sometimes.
If it's especially if it's
I mean,
not local.
I don't want to take it away from a local agent, of course, if they've got that relationship.
Right.
But especially if it's, Rocket
National.
or Quicken or anything like that. I'm like, no, that's it. If I'm a seller in a multiple offer situation and you've got 4 offers and one of them is from Quicken National Loans, all day, every day, a local lender will be more beneficial.
I've even, as a seller, even with just one offer, I'm like, hey, can you go ask these 3 lenders? Like, I'm representing the seller and the buyer has, especially if it's a newer agent.
Yeah,
and I can
because
tell
they don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They
haven't seen their clients crying hysterically because the home that Quicken Loans told them they could get into 3 weeks before closing, they can't.
Yeah.
And once you see that, you do not ever want to work with them again.
Yes.
And lenders that you have a bad experience with also, you don't want to work with them again.
Yep. Yes. Do you, and this is a selfish question because I am building a team, but do you, with your team members, do you ask that they get their own lenders or do they recommend your preferred lenders also? Like, is it team preferred lenders? How do you handle that?
Not necessarily. There's a couple agents that have lenders that they like working with that I don't work with, not because I don't like them. They're just not who I have relationships with.
Because there's more than 3 good lenders.
Oh my God, yes.
Local.
There are so many good lenders.
Yes.
I just come from a place of,
once you get your couple or whatever?
Once you have them, I don't feel the need to switch because I've never had a bad experience with them.
Right.
The second I have a bad experience with a lender, it's when I encourage buyers, my next round, they probably won't get put forth.
Yes. There's nothing there's nothing wrong with that.
I know there's not. I mean, that's why buyers are hiring us.
Yes.
And that's why we don't need to get into the whole lawsuit thing, but it is reminding buyers that you are hiring your realtor.
Yeah.
And that value add comes with the experience of knowing what lenders are going to do a good job and what lenders aren't.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, not even on this lender topic, it was something about how we fix problems before clients even know that they're problems, which is a good and a bad thing because our clients don't know the work that we did.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're getting paid what to do what? Because it went smooth and you didn't do any work. And they're like, we did do work, but you didn't see it.
Yeah.
How do you explain to clients that? Like, what's your process?
I have never
for that?
once had a client say that to me.
Okay.
Never.
Like that.
Probably because I sell houses where commission checks are like a couple $1,000.
Stop it.
No, I do. I do sell higher end homes now, but I never used to.
Yeah. Yes.
There's that odd time where you go out and they buy the very first home that they've looked at and they have perfect credit and they get everything to their lender within a day. And then it's kind of like me with here. I was like, oh God, I need to do something.
Yes.
But we send out weekly communication.
Yeah.
And I think that, that in itself is, hey, if there is a problem, we want to stay ahead of it. Of course, a great transaction with no problems, that's wonderful for you.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. And that's why we're here. And so buyers who maybe do have a perfect scenario and could leave feeling, hey, what did they do to earn that money? It's the fact that you had that relationship with them already and they know that you would be there no matter what.
Yeah. It's some type of insurance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned earlier in the conversation about a 20 touch or like staying in touch of your clients and database. I can imagine in 15 years you have a huge number of past clients, huge number of contacts in your database. How do you segment that big of a list up, or what's that look like when what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because it's something I struggle with a little bit because when business first started, you can follow all the coaches or whatever that do the pop buys, and that's very easy to manage when you have 20 clients.
Yep.
Not so easy to manage even when you have 50 clients. But 15 years in, when you have 700 clients, that's not feasible. So I try to set kind of my top 50 clients. So people who have bought homes over a certain price, not that makes them a top client price point wise, but just as a way to segment.
Yep.
But most importantly, people who have sent me the most referrals.
Yeah.
They stay in my top 50 and they're the ones who I try to do more of the pop buys for, but then doing mass mailings to the whole database, which is getting more and more expensive each year because the database grows each year and all of that. But I figure it's the cost of business. And somebody said to me once, you will spend far less money maintaining your current client base than you will trying to get a new client. And that's another thing. I have never once ever in my life ever paid for a lead.
Really?
Never.
Yeah.
Never paid for a lead.
Yeah.
100% of my business comes from, started with meeting people at open houses. My sphere, I did open houses literally every Sunday for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I never want to do an open house again. And when I list it, I literally say that in my listing appointment. I'm like, here's the deal. We have a great team. We'd love to have your house open. It will not be me.
Yeah.
Because my kids are at the age where they need me. And it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Do you get clients push back on that?
Rarely.
Yeah.
And I say to clients, look, if you really, really want me, of course I'm willing to do it, but there's no need. You have these people here that will do a fabulous job. And I'm really honest and transparent with them. Like, look, I made a promise to myself a few years ago. I'm never again going to miss my kids' soccer games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss my daughter's volleyball. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
That was actually, I'm not there now because I feel like I have so many great systems and processes and a team, and I feel so much more in control of my business. But 5 years ago, Sarah was like still on the verge of a meltdown, even with an assistant, because I was just, yes. I'll do everything. Get me on every board. Do every volunteer opportunity. Yes, you want to list your home? You want me to come at 8 o'clock at night? Absolutely, no problem. Yes. And so I had to really put those boundaries in. But with that being said, as a new agent, you do have to do that. Yeah. And that is what grew my business. Yeah. But now I've done it. And so now my boundaries are in place. My family is far more important.
Yeah. It's so like I don't know who said it or where I've heard it, but it's like you can't compare your today to someone else's 10 years ago, or 10 years ago, essentially. So like a new agent can't do that necessarily because they haven't cut their teeth for 10 years doing open houses.
And it's how you learn. It's how you grow. I'm fortunate that I have a very large sphere, but again, it goes back to you have to do a good job, which means you do have to do the late nights, take the phone calls. I mean, for me, I will not leave a family event to go talk on the phone. Yeah. If an agent, you can wait 2 hours. Unless somebody is dying, you do not need to talk to me right in this moment.
Very rare in real estate.
Very rare. Although, has happened.
Yes, it has.
But and even new agents, I think we've got to set that expectation. What other profession do you go to that you're expected to have an immediate appointment or an immediate answer? Yeah. Like, no, I think people respect it more as well from a client standpoint when you have those boundaries. I'm available on these dates and times. Let me know what works. Yeah. But again, first 10 years of real estate, Sarah, what works best for you? Yeah. Oh, I've got 3 other things going on at that time. No problem. Yep, I'll make it work. And that's what I did, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. And I love the idea, like, hey, explain to new agents that is an option. But then again, you have like, and you sound the same way, like, well, if you're not going to do that, I'll get the business that does want to be answered 100%. Immediately.
And that was the best advice my mom gave me when she started out was find a seat in the office. This is back in the day of like cubicles. Find a seat in the office outside of the top producing agent in the brokerage's office, and you take all of their spillover. So that's what I did with my mom. Yeah. I literally, any sign call, I get that's a safety thing now, but I did every sign call. Yeah. I did every sign call possible. I took every single phone call that she didn't have time to answer, did open houses every single Sunday. And my other best advice to new agents, do the open houses, but then every morning you have in your calendar, write cards. Okay. So handwritten cards every Monday. I would meet people. I'd have them sign in. They wouldn't necessarily give me their address, but I'd find their address and I'd send them a thank you card. And I'd say, I'd love the opportunity to meet with you and tell you what your home could potentially be worth. That's a great way to get an idea of what price point your next home is going to be in. Yeah. And I did so many of those that sometimes I'd get a call and it was from somebody I met like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And you just, you expect no. That is what I tell everybody. I've got a brand new agent joining my team, and I know she's going to be fantastic. When you just meet people and you know if they've got it or not.
Isn't that funny?
She's got it.
Yeah.
But you've got to learn to get okay with rejection. I think personally, now I feel like you are the type of guy that's like, they don't want to work with me. Okay, right, moving on.
There's a lot of people.
I internalize it so deeply. Like, what did I do? Why don't they want to work with me? What this is a reflection on me. Yeah. And you have to learn over time that that's not the case. And as soon as you know in your core that you're doing everything right, you can be proud of every single thing that you do. If somebody chooses not to work with you, it's not a reflection of you. It's for whatever plethora of reasons. And so this is maybe saying too much, but when I was in my state of like, I'm missing out on my kids' time, I'm swamped, I'm drowning, like couldn't even talk about my kids without crying because I felt so guilty for how much I was missing out on them. So it's like, okay, I'm either going to start smoking weed or get on anxiety medicine or see a therapist. And so I started with a therapist, and it was literally life-changing because she's the one. I said to her once, I said, when somebody doesn't want to work with me, fine, that's their loss. And she looked at me and she's like, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not their loss. Maybe they're better off working with somebody else because that's what's better for them. And that was really life-changing to me. I tell that to my agents. Cool. When somebody doesn't want to work with you, it's not a reflection of you. It's because it was better for them.
You early on in that conversation, you said proud. Like, I'm proud.
Yes.
As long as you're proud of what you did, I love that word because it's impactful, and new agents can get around that and they can get proud. Like, and if you're doing that,
absolutely,
it's something will work.
What I tell my kids in sports: hey, you had a bad game. Did you try as hard as you possibly could? If the answer is yes, then you be proud of yourself. Yeah. If the answer is no, I could have done better, then work harder next time. If I lose a listing, if I look back and say, that's why even if I have a listing that's challenging or not going to sell, I still want to give it 110%, because if they cancel with me and go with somebody else, and that always happens, they list it for 20K less and it sells right away, and then you sit and cry. Maybe that's just me. But I want to give it 110%, because if I lose that listing, then I can know in my core, hey, here's the deal. I literally did everything that I could. There was nothing more I could have done to get this home to sell. It was time that it had fresh eyes with a new agent, and good for them. Yep. And that takes a long time to get to that point.
Yes. You've, some of the stuff that you've talked about, did you do coaching with Brian Buffini?
I've never done coaching.
Never done coaching at all either?
No.
Tell me more about that decision. Like, you just...
Why would I spend $2,000 a month for somebody to tell me what I already know?
Okay. Point blank, done.
Yeah. Find a mentor. Find the top producing agent in town and shadow them. Learn just from them. Do what they do, but then make it your own.
Okay.
That is what you have to do. Yeah. Listen to the podcast from the coaches, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But in my opinion, no. I would never spend that money to have somebody tell me what I also hate being told what to do. That could be part of it.
Hey, I have a very heavy anti-authority thing. I mean, it's why I've been fired twice. But the coaching, I mean, I'm not going to change your mind on this clearly, and it doesn't really matter. I see it as a speedway. So yes, you can go watch the main agent and see what they're doing. But if you have a coach that understands your business, they can tell you all of those things, help you go do them before, like in a faster way than going and watching the main agent. Because I agree, like, when I was before a realtor, I was in the insurance world, and I was with the main agent. I was his admin, essentially account manager. And I learned so much from how he did business over 7 years. And I've tied a lot of that into what I'm doing now. But
now,
I hear you.
I will say, coaching as far as a real estate coach, I haven't done, but I have taken so many, business
courses, classes.
Therapy
is a form of coaching.
Yeah. I've done the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute. Yeah. I've done a lot of those things. But that's that's my other best piece of advice is get as involved as you possibly can in your community.
Yeah.
And do it authentically. Don't sign up for something just because you want to meet people. Do something that you're genuinely passionate about.
Right.
But yeah, again, why I burned out though, because I volunteered for everything. But I think in the long run, you know, it really helped me meet so many new people and make so many new connections. And that's what it's about.
And before we started, like, maybe it's going to be on here, but we talked a little bit about like, there's different pillars to have lead generation for your business. Like, so if you're a networker and you like that stuff and you know, that's fun, that is a way to grow your business.
Yeah. Matt Morrow always told me you need to have 5 pillars.
Okay.
And you need to work all 5 pillars of your different lead sources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is kind of a side note, but I told Ingrid Williams, she's like my, like who I want to be someday. I love her so much. Yeah. I think it's incredible what she does and how she sells, and she still remains the nicest human being in the world and will help with anything. Yeah. And there's so many agents out there like that, but I specifically say Ingrid because she's like number 2 in the entire MLS, her team is. But I told her, I was like, why don't you start doing coaching for how to build a team? That's what I would love coaching for, because so Katie and I, we're very close. We've been together for 10 years. And when we first started, we had this phrase, I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll figure it out. I don't know. So when we grew the team, I've never really known what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm just figuring it out as I go.
Yeah.
So
there are coaches for that.
I don't want to pay $1,000 a month.
And Ingrid's team isn't huge, like 9 or 10 people.
I think so.
Yeah. So she was on a team. So Keller did a team agent panel mastermind, and it was Ingrid was on it. Anyway, a bunch of agents, but she was on there. I'd never met her in person. I've done a couple deals.
So
she was
amazing.
so nice. Yeah.
So amazing.
Great person.
I just look up to agents like that, you know, they remain always humble and kind and willing to share anything, but also are badass business people.
Yeah. Did you open up an office on 6th Avenue?
I did.
Can you tell us why do you pick 6th Avenue? I just love it. I love the area. I live rural Iowa, like on a farm way far away from 6th Avenue. But if there was a place I would move,
I would not have pegged you as a country boy.
Yeah. I'm not a country boy. We grow our own meat, and so we want to eat our own food, and we have 4 boys, and
that's like what people dream of doing.
Yes, the life of, and we also I love people, but I don't love people telling me what to do. So having neighbors was terrible.
Yeah. So you wouldn't exactly want an HOA community, would you?
No, like city of Des Moines, just living in city proper when we lived on the south side was enough of an HOA for me that I was like, listen, I got to get out of here. So anyway.
6th Avenue, Highland Park, I grew up in the area.
Okay.
So I grew up just east of there, but my grandma lived in Highland Park. So I spent many, weekends at Highland Bakery in the morning, and then Aqualand to go look at animals, and Friday nights at Chuck's Pizza.
Yeah.
Went to, this isn't Highland Park, but Union Park over by the rocket ship slide. So that area is really, really special to me. I think it's really cool, and I love the development that's happening there. I also firmly believe that our neighborhoods should have a real estate office. I believe, especially on the east side, again, this is a little bit of a tangent, but when I first started, there were a lot of realtors who would point blank tell their agents or tell their clients not to live on the east side. And I'm going to defend that until the day I die. There are so many great neighborhoods. There's so much great housing stock there, but you have to educate people about what is there.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to open it there. I wanted people in the neighborhood to be able to walk by, see a real estate agent, see an office there. I've always wanted to have my own building. So I didn't like paying rent to a brokerage. Yeah. And so it's always been my dream. It actually was, I want to have my own boutique brokerage. And then I realized that really is not.
It's not feasible, is it?
No.
I know a couple people who went out on their own, and I
I love the resources that my brokerage gives.
I just look at the value, just a trade-off. So I'm at Keller Williams, and it's roughly $19,000 total for the year, plus like $120 a month fee. Like that's all you're paying to get what they provide, compliance, training. It just makes I can't find the sense in making a boutique brokerage. Yeah. Personally.
I think it can be done, and I respect and admire those people that can do it, but I realized the only thing I want to do is grow my team and sell houses.
Yeah.
I don't, it's
fascinating.
Yeah.
I've struggled with it because I mean, from the get go, I was like, oh, I could do this myself. I could have my own, my own
And then
name.
it's like, oh, you got to set up a trust account. And
I struggle with it.
Yeah. I think for me personally, staying within a brokerage that offers things that I respect and value and that I need them for, sometimes things come up that I do want to pick somebody's brain about. And it's important to have that. And I just want to sell houses.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
And grow a team, right? Help other people, help people sell houses and buy houses. Cool.
This is going to sound really cheesy and you may not believe me, but it does actually make me, again, so proud when I see agents that have come in. Like one agent on my team, she started with me as a brand new agent and she's been with me for almost 5 years and she sold $8.5 million last year, which
so cool.
I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I really do want to teach my team members how to grow their business, which can really backfire on me because then they grow their business and then they leave. But I have to be okay with that at some point and hopefully offer enough value that they do decide to stay. But that's why I don't pay for leads because I don't think it's a sustainable business model. I am not going to have a team that I'm paying for leads and giving them and making them go meet some random stranger that who knows if they're going to buy a house or not. No, I teach them how to work their sphere, do their database, relationship management, offering those things.
It's fascinating. I've had that. So as I've just started to grow my team, I'm trying to I've not bought leads, just a little bit from Bigger Pockets, which is an investor website. But I mean, less than $2,000 for a year is what typically that is. So anyway, I haven't really bought leads either.
There's some teams that are paying like $10,000 a month for leads,
correct.
which is bananas to me.
Right. And so I look at that and I'm like, if you just do the math of an agent and they have a database because they surely know 200 to 400 people, like they have,
Surely you had at least 150 person wedding invite.
Or you're going to be able to gather that with open houses and door knocking in 6 months. So my point is, if you build out the right touch program, that it's a sustainable model to just give them that instead of buying the leads. And then you're actually working with people that already know you. Yeah. It seems more sustainable. But there are a lot of teams that do it, and that's how they've built and grown. And
it's smart.
I don't know their profitability, but
it's smart from a team standpoint because then those agents kind of rely on you for the leads. Like, yes, they're still building their business.
Yep.
Whereas my model is I am teaching agents how to build their business, which is what my mom did for me.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing.
Full circle.
But I hope that, again, I'm offering enough value and I'm giving enough resources and enough benefits to stay on the team because I do think that having a team of people is really powerful. I think that you can sell more real estate when you let go of the day-to-day tasks that our admin people can take over doing and you focus on what you do best, which is meeting people and selling houses.
Yes. Like I had to convince myself of that as I started a team because I didn't believe it for 4 years.
Same.
It was so hard for me to think someone would join a team until you break down the transaction on what is important and what a good salesperson can do.
I mean, it is a proven method.
Yeah.
You follow the systems and processes that we have. We do quarterly goal setting. We do goals that we're very, very, very goal oriented.
Okay.
And you're either on track or off track. And if you're off track,
EOS stuff?
So when I was with Jerry's Homes, they did traction, and that was my first introduction to it. And I think it's an amazing system. I do a very, very light, modified version of it. Yeah. We have our yearly goals, we have our quarterly goals, and we have our weekly meetings. So
cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I talked a lot.
No, I love it. You have such good information. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing everything.
Yeah. And truly anybody can if there's a new agent and they're like, I just want to pick your brain about stuff, I'm always open for coffee.
Yeah.
But preferably not in West Des Moines.
Really? Why is that? Because you live on the east side? You live
I live
downtown?
on the south side.
Okay.
I don't really like going west of 63rd Street.
Oh, it's funny. So I struggle to find a local coffee shop in West Des Moines, right? So like it's I would agree completely.
There's just so many good locally owned coffee shops in the center of our city. You've got
Yeah, let's name them. Smoky Roast, Slow Down, Mars.
So Scenic Route.
Where's that?
Mars Cafe, Scenic Route's in the East Village.
Okay.
There's a really cool one, and now I'm going to blank on the name of it, but it's also in the East Village. It's newer, and that's my new favorite spot. And I, of course, cannot think of the name of it right now. But I love it because it's quiet. Sometimes Scenic Route's like really busy and you always run into like 15 people that you know. This is like
That's
quiet.
good for business, Sarah.
I know. I actually, another odd thing about me is I actually hate small talk.
Okay.
Like I hate running into people sometimes and having to do the small talk.
Have you done
thing.
disc profile?
No.
A disc profile?
Oh, yeah, but I can't remember what I am.
Yeah, you're a high D.
Okay, yeah.
It's okay. I am also.
I'm an Enneagram 3. Do you do Enneagrams?
Yeah, but I don't know it as well.
I dove in pretty deep on the Enneagrams because it is scary how accurate it is.
Very good. A lot of those are really, most of them are very good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But we got to be self-aware.
Yes.
Got to be self-aware.
But the small talk, just straight, let's get to the point.
Even in emails, like we do not need to talk about the weather. You do not need to tell me that you hope I'm having a great day. Let's just get to the point.
Yes.
But
you're when you write the email and then you're like, okay, now I got to put the fluff in on both sides to make sure people don't.
No, I don't put the fluff in.
That's my corporate
but
world.
Also, as a woman, I have been told many, many times that I am abrasive or rude. I'm not. I'm literally just telling you the facts. There's when I was going through my commercial loan for the building, I will never use that bank again that lender was at because he was so awful to me and told me how mean I was in my emails. And I went back to every single email, literally, no, just the facts. There was nothing. I said,
there just wasn't any
I replied
fluff.
back, I said, I'm sorry, because I didn't put smiley face emojis. You're going to tell me that my emails are mean? No, sir, that is not accurate.
Oh, that's too funny.
So I need to work on being better. I need to work on.
You though? Maybe it's just better for everybody.
Maybe. I don't know.
You're doing something right.
We don't need to let's just get to the point.
I agree. Yeah, that's fun. Cool. Anything else you want to share?
No, I think I hit on everything.
It was fantastic, super fun one. So thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is so fun. I didn't actually really know you before this, but then you just joined the board of directors for DMAR, which I am on the board of directors. Yeah. But I, again, was telling my husband about this, and I was like, I don't know much about this guy, but I love everything he's doing. And that is not super common. I mean, it's not often that I say that. But I love your newsletters. I love your hustle approach. I love that I've said so many times, I should do a podcast about agents. Have I ever done a podcast about agents? No.
I'm working on it.
You're
welcome to come back anytime. But yes,
so
thank you.
You should be. That's really cool what you've created in a very short amount of time. Because again, by year 5 for me, I was just trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah, it's been fun. A lot of good people surrounding sport. And
you can tell you have the business aspect of things down.
Yeah, I honestly, to be candid, like that more than real estate. Yeah.
Which is why you'll be a great person to have a team.
Yeah.
I still really love selling houses.
I know. I get it. I started as an investor, which probably tells a lot about that piece of it. But it's been fun. Thank you. I will have you back on. You have a wealth of knowledge, and I love everything you're doing also. And growing the team the way that you're doing. That's super fun. Super fun to see. So thank you. And for the rest of you, we will see you at the next transaction.